Trust me, it'll happen.
Okay, take that out.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have two very special guests. We have
Lauren
and
Ashley.
And today I'm going to be asking them questions that you're too afraid to ask college girls. So I have about 10 questions that I'm really excited to do so we can get straight into it.
And we don't know these questions, just so you guys know.
So this is their raw responses, so we will see what they say. This one's kind of just an out there question to start off with. Are college parties anything like the movies?
I would say no. Well, first of all, a college party, it's not glamorous, at least where I go to school. I go to University of Notre Dame, and at least as a freshman, without COVID, when we had parties, we live in very small and very old dorms. So going to a college party as a freshman meant you were crammed in a smelly dorm room, you know, sweating and listening to throwbacks and I mean, I can't say I pictured that, but I honestly wouldn't have it any other way. I don't know if you want to jump in there and share a bit more.
Well, she kind of spoke to my answer, but I go to Wake Forest, and so it's also in a small town. And I would say the parties are not like in the movies. Kind of what Lauren said, how they're not glamorous, not as they're kind of made out to be, I feel like, but still fun.
Question number 2, how is it living with dorm/roommates?
This is a good question. Definitely one of the shocks going into college. So we live together, we're sisters, we lived together in the same room for 13 years of our lives, but in high school we had our own rooms and our own bathrooms. So I think going into college, I definitely discounted how used to that environment I had gotten. And we both lived in community style dorms, so we had sharing bathrooms with not just a few people, but your entire floor. And then I lived with 3 other girls in one room. So all of our beds were in one room. And I would say, I definitely realized that, you know, everyone grows up differently. Everyone has different standards of how they grow up. You know, some people don't realize like that their space, is theirs and my space is mine. So it taught me how to have like honest, you know, respectful conversations with people. You're gonna be fine though. You're gonna be fine.
Great.
Sorry, I went a little overboard.
So I would say I definitely agree with all those points, and I also think it was really nice to have a roommate because it kind of forces you to be social, and it's good to have time to yourself. I think that's the one kind of flaw of having a roommate, because sometimes you're kind of always in the room with them and you don't have a lot of time to yourself. But also for me, going to a school where I didn't really know a lot of people, it was really nice to have a roommate that was very social, and I kind of felt like I should be social, and I got to meet all of her friends, and she got to meet all of my friends. So I think in that regard, I really like having a roommate, but it definitely teaches you how to be organized, how to deal with when, you know, when you're both upset and kind of like taking out on each other just to like take a break. It's a tough time, but it also helps you kind of mature and kind of learn how to deal with people that aren't sometimes as similar to you, I guess.
So question number 3 is, what do you miss/enjoy about not living at home? So what do you miss about not living at home, and what do you enjoy about not living at home?
So what I miss would definitely be my mom's food. And also, and I would say like, we live in Florida, so I mean, it's a beautiful place to be. I miss the beaches all the time and my home friends, of course. The one thing I do like being away from home is probably the independence and being able to kind of make my own schedule and kind of knowing that each day is gonna be different. I mean, my classes are the same, but I can kind of do whatever I want with the rest of my day, which is really nice.
Yeah, I think you hit on a lot of it. I would say I never really feel clean when I'm at school. Like, even just after the shower, you still feel that kind of grime of just going after someone in the shower, seeing someone's hair in the shower. Trust me, it'll happen. But I would say just in general, the spontaneity of college is something that I was definitely taken aback by, because in high school, I think a lot of us are used to the schedule of get up, go to school 8 hours a day, you know, you have your extracurriculars or sports or whatever you like to do, and then you go to bed and do it all over again. And I think in college, there's a lot more free time, unless you're a college athlete, which no free time.
Question number 4. Is the average college teacher better than the average high school teacher?
I mean, wherever you go, you're always gonna get a professor that you either don't like or isn't well liked. It's just gonna happen, and they determine your grades, so it's kind of unfortunate. But I would say in college, you're gonna be learning more, you're gonna be going in more depth, and I think the professors are probably more educated and more, I don't really know how to word it, but they won't reach out to you. You kind of have to go to them and ask questions. And if you do, I found that really helpful for me because they'll give you answers, they'll tell you what to study, and they'll really appreciate you coming to ask them questions. Because when you go to college, there's a bunch of people that don't end up going to office hours, and but it's not gonna hurt you, but it's definitely gonna help you.
Yeah, I feel like a misconception about college professors is like their main job in college is to teach, when in reality a lot of them are there to do research. So the teaching might be an afterthought to them. When you approach, you know, classes and you feel like you're not understanding and you feel like your teacher's just kind of rushing through stuff, like make sure you're kind of following up with them, because once again, like they might not be thinking about what they're doing as intently as you really think they are, and as your high school teachers are typically doing, since that's their main job is to teach. So
okay, question number 5, how is college food?
Oh my gosh, it totally depends. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen those Yale like day in my life food events and getting your hopes up. I would say for me, I love the school I go to, but I do not love their food. I think it really depends on kind of like where you're located geographically, because obviously being in Florida, I'm used to like fresh fruit, fresh fish, like those kinds of things. But now I'm in the Midwest, lots of carbs, lots of unknown like toppings and interesting, some dried chicken, you know. And you definitely have to kind of just accept that A, you don't always know what you're eating, and B, you have to eat and you don't want to spend money. So sometimes you can obviously splurge on what you really do want to be eating, but I would say most of the time, find what works for you at the dining hall. Just stick with it.
I would agree. I think it's kind of slim pickings, but I kind of have like a schedule of what I eat now. I try to have like a sandwich / salad, and I'll switch it up sometimes for lunch and dinner, because I don't really, some of the food can be a little bit suspicious.
Definitely
times, but the chicken's good.
Chicken's fun.
but you just gotta find things that look appealing. There's some things that you just don't want to touch, but other things are good.
It's not the worst, and it makes, when you eat really good food, it makes it that much more exciting.
So question number 6, do boys actually mature into men?
No. I'm gonna say no, hard no.
I mean, I think it depends on who you surround yourself with. I mean, I loved my guy friends in high school, and I always thought they were super mature and smart and that sort of thing. And I went to a school where I guess there's a variety of guys, but I find that the guys that I'm friends with are very mature, if not more mature than I am, which is shocking. But I think it's honestly like how you kind of go about making friends makes a big difference, especially with guys, how they treat not just you, but others, I think is a really telltale sign of like their maturity level. Because sometimes if they're after something with you, they're not gonna treat everyone else as kindly, so.
I think the difference is that at her school, they don't have frats.
Yeah,
so
that could be a major factor.
That probably makes a little bit of a difference.
Which actually goes into the next question, which is just for Ashley. What is it like being in a sorority?
Oh.
I'm dying to know, I'm dying to know!
So I really like being in a sorority because at Wake, we rush in January, and so I got the whole semester to get to know upperclassmen and get to know a lot of people. And so I didn't feel pressured necessarily, and I didn't feel like scared about it just because I knew a lot of people going into it. I really like being in a sorority because I've met people that I'm really similar to, and that I think my friends first semester, I loved hanging out with them, but I wasn't as like-minded as them. And so getting into a sorority, I met a lot of people that like the same things that I do and want to hang out and do social things. And then we also have events that we can all attend. Yeah. I mean, not with COVID, but in general, there's a lot of things you can do. And we have group chats where we all text about where we're gonna go and where we can meet up and stuff. And I really like it just because you always know that you can reach out to anyone in the sorority if you're dealing with anything. Literally, if you're somewhere and you're scared about something, you can always reach out. And I don't know, I think there's a sort of like stereotype about it, but I think it's just kind of how you go about it. Like, because there's gonna be a lot of people in your sorority, but it's kind of who you lean towards that makes the experience.
How difficult is your college workload?
Oh, we're gonna have so different answers.
Should I start?
Yeah, you start.
So I attend Wake Forest. It's also known as Work Forest, just for context. I mean, starting as a freshman, I still had a lot of work, but I think it just kind of builds each year that you're in college. It's also though how you go about it. I think for me, it takes me—
Answer to everything. How you go about it.
Okay, take that out. I feel like I have a lot of work all the time because they give us a lot of busy work, and it's hard for me to start studying early when I just have a lot of busy work in my classes. But also, when you're a freshman, you kind of just take the core classes and classes that have probably more work, like the intro classes have more work than the higher level classes. For the higher level, you have less grades for assignments, but your exams kind of count for more, and that's kind of how it works at college, or at least where I go. So I think the workload itself, it decreases, but you're studying and like the material, like the difficulty of it increases. Like high school, you have tests all the time. It's not like that, it's more spread out, but each test kind of counts for more, so it's more pressure.
So I would say my first reaction to that would be it totally depends on your major and where you're going to school. I go to school, I'm a business major, and even though I would say the level of difficulty of the classes I'm in is pretty high, the amount of work is not, because they expect you to kind of keep up with it yourself and hopefully do well on the exam. You may get into a class and you have 2 exams and that's it. No other expectations.
Okay, so what's the best and worst part about college?
I would say the worst would probably be being away from your like family and friends, because it's a lot of a change, especially going to a school in a different state, like leaving everything that you know and everything that you've like known for your whole life, kind of. I'd probably say just like missing people from home.
Yeah. I would say it's really hard, especially when life events happen, you know, and you're kind of, you're stuck where you are, unless you can drive home, which is awesome, don't get me wrong, but you're stuck where you are and you kind of have to make do with who's around. But I think that also leads into sort of the best part about college is that your friendships are so much stronger. I mean, depending on, like, we have super great high school friends that are like family to us, but I think that those relationships took a longer amount of time to kind of grow, because you're not spending 24/7 with those girls. They don't live with you. But in college, I mean, they are your family from day one. When something happens and mom and dad and sister isn't around, like they're it. I mean, the people that I've met in college have just, A, transformed my worldview, you know, given me more perspective, and coming from a little bubble, I think that that was much needed. And B, have just given me this motivation to just be myself, but also to, you know, be okay with sort of change and be okay with accepting that I'm changing and different. And I've loved sort of making friends in college and really noticed a change in myself and how I operate. I don't know if you have a similar—
Yeah, I was gonna say friends, but I also will say I really like being spontaneous, and I think when I was in high school, I was very kind of just like set on like schedules and routines, and college kind of just forced me to go out of my comfort zone and to try new things. So I think it kind of just like opens, like college itself is just very, like it opens your mind to like try new things.
Well, thank you guys so much for answering all those questions. If you guys want to see more videos like this, please let me know down below. And don't forget to subscribe so you can see the new videos every week. And I will see you guys next week. Don't forget to be a ray of sunshine. Bye everyone.